So do you run it to like a Zoom board and then you just record everything with?
Yeah, I have this thing. It's called a Zoom Live Track L8, and it's
Okay.
it's like specifically designed for podcasting, but it also would work as like a live mixing board.
Oh
Um,
wow, that's cool.
if you wanted to. Yeah,
Okay.
and it does phone calls and stuff really well. That's why I got it.
Oh, okay.
Um, yeah,
So
but
what you can have people phone into your podcast?
yeah, I can hook my phone directly up to it, and they can hear the audio coming from the board. So like theoretically, I could have them on the phone and like play a YouTube video, and they could hear it. I'd probably never do that, but that's like,
Shit. Okay, that's awesome, man. Wow.
yeah, I can send you a link to it. How much is Zoom stuff super expensive in South Africa?
Yeah, well, it's the like I've got the just the field recorder, the H6.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Because I've often done podcasts before the virus hits, I was like often doing podcasts where I normally go to like a pub or a bar or like a restaurant or something like that, and then I just sit there and we just talk shit for a bit because I kind of like the ambient noise and that type of vibe.
Yeah.
But that was quite expensive. I don't know how much it is in dollars, but it was about 7,000 rand. Yeah.
All right, let me
So
put this. I actually pulled up before this conversation.
okay.
7,000 rand. Yeah, that's okay. It's 420 US dollars. That
Is
used to
that?
be the price from here too. Just
Oh, okay, cool.
yeah, I think they're a little less expensive now. They seem to be, as they put out new stuff, they're reducing the price. H6 is amazing though. I love it.
Yeah, it is good, but it's also I think they're reducing the price as well because I think podcasting is fucking everyone especially in the States. I think everyone in their freaking grand has a bloody podcast now.
Yeah, my grandpa's dead. He's had a podcast for 3 years.
Oh, that's so true, man. That's hilarious. Fuck yeah. So how long have you been doing comedy?
A little over 5 years.
Okay.
I hit 5 years in quarantine.
Oh, really? Shit. Okay.
Yeah.
And have you feeling? I mean, I know there's like little bits and bobs or whatever of the like doing the online shows or whatever, but does it kind of scratch the itch for you?
Uh, so at first it did really well. At
Yeah.
first, I went to sleep like I had just done my first open mic in my life. Like I'm like still sweating. I mean, I sweat a lot anyway. I'm a big guy, but uh,
Yeah.
I went to sleep like still sweating, excited, had a hard time getting to sleep. And then I
Mm.
did like by the time I got to like my 8th online show, I was like, oh, this is like a mediocre open mic at best. Like
Right.
it's not that great. But and then I had one live weekend. My local club, my home club, opened for about a month, and then the state shut them down.
Yeah.
Uh, but I did one live in-person weekend at a comedy club,
What?
and dude, I was flying. I was like I had been off heroin for years
Yeah, yeah, and you
and had
just
just
got
done
it.
my first dose, dude. It was so great.
you,
Uh,
you walked off stage and you're like, "Come, I want more."
I'm still like getting away from people. Like I didn't like go talk to any audience members or
Okay.
anything like that. I was like steering clear of all that.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
dude,
yeah.
it felt so good.
Okay. It's and so you're in Tacoma. They're all in the Washington area. They're all closed, so it's all done now.
Yeah, it was so the place that is my home club was open. They were open for about a month, and they're technically a restaurant too, so they were like, the tables were super spread out, like 25% capacity.
Yeah.
Um, and then the state ruled that you can't even have outdoor performance here.
Right.
So yeah,
Is
we
it?
can't even.
Shit. Because you guys have got like state by state law, so whatever. I mean, like what's happening? Because I know in New York that they're still allowed outdoor performances in some instances. I mean, because the only
Yeah, I
reason
don't
I
know why
know
they
that
don't.
is, yeah, that is strange. Like the only reason I know that is because of watching like Legion of Skanks or whatever. I just saw their podcast and they're outside the stand in New York and they're doing their podcast outside as they would normally inside. So I
Yeah, I
guess
have a
that
buddy
would.
out there, and I saw he's posted some pictures on Instagram of him
As it-
doing comedy in the middle of the park. Just like I don't even know if he had a microphone, to be honest with you. It just seems like
Was
it's
that
so different.
did he just rock up? Was it a planned gig or did he just rock up and like by himself and start talking to people like a crazy pastor or like because it's like people could be like, is he talking about the end of the world or is he talking about comedy? I don't know if I should follow him or if I should laugh. People might be a bit confused.
We know no matter what, he's gonna blame the Jews at the end of it. I don't know. No, I think it was. I mean, I think it was planned insofar as like there was a producer of the show and there were
Okay.
other comics on the show, but I don't know if
Okay.
everybody at the park knew it was going to happen, you know?
Oh, okay. So it was in Central Park, and it was just like people rocked up. Because I know Dave Chappelle used to do that, and they used to think he was crazy.
Yeah.
I was just
Yeah,
like,
that's a. Can you imagine? I mean, I'm sure there's like a billion people that say they saw him do that now,
yeah,
but can you imagine seeing like an 18-year-old Dave Chappelle just
yeah,
walk up in the middle of the park
yeah,
and start doing
yeah.
stand
And
up?
then you'd be like, what is this guy doing? And then he also did it when he took that hiatus. Because actually, when he did when he like fucked off and like when Comedy Central wanted to pay him all that money, he actually
Hey,
came
went
to
to
sit.
hang out with you guys over there.
Yeah, he came to go hang out with us, and no one knew. I didn't even know he was here until he got back to the States, and he told everyone. I was like, "Motherfucker, where's on to Dave Chappelle?" But yeah, dude, he's amazing.
Yeah, he's great.
He's like a savant, really, I guess. I don't know what he's
He's
doing
one
with.
of the smartest people in comedy. He doesn't get enough credit because he also makes dick and fart jokes, right? But
Mm,
he's like one of the smartest people. His parents are both like college professors. Like that
yeah,
dude is high level intelligent in any field, and just chose to smoke weed all day.
yeah.
And
Hey man, he
uh,
made the right choice. He made the right choice.
yeah,
Let's be honest, for himself and
and
everyone. I mean, he's winning. I mean, now like him and Joe Rogan are doing arenas, and like I was listening to him talk about Joe Rogan talk about their like tour and stuff. He's like they're like rock stars. You know what I mean? They have like massive crowds doing 20,000 seaters, and I'm like, they're fine. They made the right choice. And they get to smoke
yeah.
weed. You know, so I think they're okay.
My buddy, so we have a dome. It's called the Tacoma Dome in Tacoma,
Okay,
Washington, and it holds, I think, for live performance, it holds like 15,000 or 20,000.
okay.
And my friend opened for him.
Oh wow.
There. So just, I think it was him, um, Donnell Rawlings, and
Yeah.
then Joe Rogan and Dave Chappelle. And apparently they like went to a movie after, like they hung out.
Yes.
They like, and yeah, and what a blast! Like, I mean, I am so jealous of that story. I'm not even like, I don't love Rogan's comedy or his podcast. Like, it's just not my style.
Got
I
you.
would I would kill a person to be able to do that. I'd kill Donnell Rawlings to be able to be.
No, but you know
I
he's
do love
hard.
Donnell Rawlings.
Yeah, he's hilarious. But you do know he's hard to kill. But you know he's hard to kill. You can just look at him
He
and
was in the military.
hey, was he?
Yeah, I'm sure he's well trained.
Oh wow! I just think he looks like hard. He just looks hard to kill. So now I didn't even know he was in the military, and I'm like, okay, that makes him because he's like he seems super hood, and now he's also in the military, and you're like, whoa, this guy will never he's gonna be around with the freaking cockroaches when nuclear fallout and shit happens. You know, he's gonna be around forever. That's fucking awesome, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like I've actually heard about the Tacoma Dome. Funny enough, I think well, obviously, yeah, I think I heard Joe Rogan mention it. You've also got your own podcast as well. If you say
Yeah.
you switched co-hosts.
I have there's no co-host. I've had like 8 podcasts,
Okay.
and I had the most successful podcast I have. I don't talk to the co-host at all anymore. We're not friends at
Really?
all. Like, haven't talked
Wow.
to each other in 3 years. There was a second co-host. Don't talk to him either. I think they're off having a relationship on their own.
Oh,
I'm
really?
not. Yeah, no, that's fine. I'm making a joke.
Oh,
But we are
yeah.
not friends anymore. That's true. And then I've had other podcasts with co-hosts, and it's difficult to have a co-host on a podcast.
It is, especially when it's like you are the one kind of driving it and wanting to be like, okay, let's do this weekend. Come on, every time Wednesdays we record, Saturdays or whenever it goes out, and then it's like, but then I find that if people aren't invested in it, they don't really, put cock on block and actually do the work. You know what I mean? They don't actually show up and
Yeah,
shit. So
yeah, I
it's
totally
just
agree.
like,
And also, it's hard to keep, especially when you're doing comedy and you're making money doing comedy.
mm,
I'm not going to turn down a gig for a podcast that's like costing me money. You know
yeah,
what I
for
mean?
sure, for sure.
If it's not making you any money, then I don't know. I mean, unless you have to like absolutely really love it, right? And that we don't necessarily love things at the same rate as the people we're working with.
Yes, that's a good point. That's a very good point. Yeah. So was it an instance of them being more interested in it than you, or vice versa, or like you said, was it the fact that you would take gigs over, which is, I mean, completely. If comedy is your
Uh,
first love, why the hell not?
yeah, when I first started the podcast, the guy that I started it with was a comic, and I had not started doing comedy yet. And then
Oh,
about a
okay.
year and a half into doing the podcast is when we started, or when I started doing comedy. But he moved halfway across the country. I wanted to do like multiple episodes a week. He didn't want
Yeah.
to do any more episodes a week. Zero. He wanted to do 0 episodes a week. I
Right.
more than anything, he just didn't want to. He didn't want to put a lot of effort into it, and I was like, it was the podcast product was bad.
Oh,
That
really?
was my biggest problem. Is like it was really good when we were doing it in person and we both cared about it a lot.
Yeah.
And then I think we both stopped caring about it as much and it got bad. And
Mm.
it's like the only reason we were still doing it is because we had done it for a while. And it was like
Uh,
felt like it's like when you're in a relationship and you just
yeah.
stay with the person until
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
3 years past when you should have quit.
Yeah, so it's like essentially it's either like you. I mean, you can't tell the person that you're actually not in love with them anymore. So it's just easier to probably cheat or just leave them, unblock them, and never speak to them again. Do you know what I mean? It's
Yes,
just
that's
like
what we did with that
you
podcast.
ghosted each other. You ghosted each
Yeah,
other. Okay, fine, fair enough.
I sent a big dramatic email.
Oh
They
wow.
made fun of me because we stayed friends for a little while after. We weren't like,
Yeah,
but it was like the beginning of the end by that point. And I
yeah.
sent a big dramatic email that was like, I'm gonna step away from the podcast. You guys can keep doing it. And they're like, we're not doing it without you, you fucking idiot. Like, you're the only one that wants to do this thing. And I was like, oh, okay, well, if that's the case. Then I don't
Then
want to do it. You're
then
wrong.
the podcast is over. Fuck you guys. I'm out. That's okay. Yeah, that's fair enough. I think the where the I mean like the podcast like there's obviously like a model or whatever and how it works is like there's some people who get it right, like Lister Norman, they like just have this
Mhm.
thing where they I mean I think but also like they love comedy as much as each other, they're both geeks about comedy, and they also want to do the podcast as much, and they've got now obviously it's successful for them because they've got the Patreon, they've got like a following, like I mean I'm definitely a Tuesgay, so freaking
Yeah, me too.
yeah, I mean I fucking love their podcast,
Yeah,
so
it's
it's
my
like
favorite podcast.
oh really.
They have amazing chemistry. First off, I think it's a lot of comics' favorite podcast, and I've realized why, which is
Mm,
all of us want to be successful comedians.
yeah.
And through that podcast, you've heard those guys go from like their middles that are opening for comedians that they
Yeah,
respect and I respect to headliners that are like Mark Norman when this all reopens because of his special is probably going to be selling out
yeah,
some small theaters. And he's like, I remember, and we're not allowed to say this name in the United States. So now that I'm on an international podcast, I can say it.
hmm,
When Joe List got the microphone at the end of the tour with Louis C.K., do you remember that episode where he signed a
yes,
microphone from the tour, hands him? I
yes.
literally I was driving with my wife and I started tearing up
Yeah,
because
no,
I'm
me
like,
too as well. It's like,
yeah,
yeah,
I was
it's
like,
such a
what
big
are you doing?
moment. Oh my god, oh my god, it's such a big. And then you bought him a Rolex as well. I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah,
Oh no,
oh
no,
my
no,
god, I'm right now. This is what a yeah.
I'm
So
just like,
you got to like you get to know these guys obviously,
wow,
but also we've gotten to see both of their careers progress,
yeah,
and also they've luckily, I mean, they have amazing chemistry together, but they've progressed at a rate that hasn't made it too annoying for either of them to keep doing the podcast. Right?
yes.
They haven't grown past each other.
Yes, they haven't grown. Well, actually, I mean, I became a Tuesday later on because I actually, funny enough, I got through I think I've got into podcasting through the natural progression of, I came in actually more from like a self-development thing. And then I realized, oh, there's so much more fun, interesting freaking comedians doing stuff. And I got actually some more through kind of like the LA scene, you know what I mean? Like that side. And then when I saw, I don't know where I saw Norman on. I think I saw him on like TFATK or like something like that. And I was like, okay. And then I just like started devouring everything that he put out. And then that led me to List and then Sam Moreau. And then like I also went further down and also like I've actually now gravitated more to the East Coast comics because I feel like they're more comedians. Do you know what I mean? They're more like in the
Sure,
hustle,
absolutely.
doing the thing over and over again. And it's more relatable for me as a, like, I don't know, they seem very down to earth. You know what I mean? If I kind of feel like, not to like say anything bad about the other side, but it's just like they're kind of like more fame, and it seems like there's quite a divide between East and West Coast, even though they're kind of
Well,
coming together.
so the way they talk about it, I've heard a bunch of East Coast comics talk about this, which is on the West Coast, like the most famous comics are like Joe Rogan and those guys have these mansions and they're driving like Porsches and Ferraris.
Yeah.
And in New York, the best comedian is Dave Attell, and he's taking the subway and carrying a grocery bag with him
Bag, yeah, yeah,
everywhere he
yeah,
goes.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, every time he goes onto the bonfire, he's got a grocery bag and like he's like giving them out like bumping mics, merch, and shit like that. It's just like it's hilarious. But that's also like what I love about like my favorite thing, because I watch the bonfire whenever they do the live shows or whatever. I'm a big fan of Big J and Dan Soda, and just those two, their chemistry is just something else I've never seen like before. Like they they just have like, I think Bert Kreischer called it like a double Dutch, you know what I mean? So they have like
Oh,
these ropes and they're going, and he says it's so difficult to almost get in on it because like they have like kind of like they finish, they're like a married couple, they finish each other's sentences essentially.
yeah. I'm a recent convert to the Bonfire. When
Okay.
quarantine started is when I started listening to the
Oh,
Bonfire.
okay,
I
okay.
was like, I finally have enough time to get a Sirius XM subscription, so I guess
Right.
I'll add 2 hours of listening to my weekdays or whatever. And I really like it.
Mm.
It also seems incredibly difficult to find somebody who knows all of the exact movie references and
Yes.
music references as you.
Yes.
Even people the same age, right? Like you're 36. I think I heard you
Yes.
say the other day. I'm
Yeah, correct.
34. I bet you your and my references are way different, right? Like I
Yeah,
grew up watching sports, American sports. You probably did not grow up watching American sports. Even
100%.
if you did, even if you grew up in the United States, it's just so difficult to find someone that like
Yeah.
loves all the same shit you do.
Yeah, for sure. No, definitely. Yeah, but the thing is, like, I love it. Like, I remember the one where they were talking about Jessica Kirsten, who's also like so hilarious, dude. But like, she
Yeah.
was on the show, and then they were talking about like woke Terminator, and then all he had to do was go dun, 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 and then you knew he was like talking, like it just like kind of leveled everything off, and then they knew where they were starting. So then they just started the whole back and forth, and I think
Yeah.
it's like it is hard to. I think that's the thing about the comedy scene. I find it's like everyone is so different, but then you have like this one really kind of weird thing in common because it's like comedians are a strange bunch because they're just a strange bunch, but they're a strange bunch because of what they do. Like standing on stage with a microphone and entertaining people just by yourself is a very odd thing in
Yeah.
my mind.
I heard this thing that Doug Stanhope said where he like wrote a big like open letter against Dane Cook
Yeah.
early in Dane Cook's rise to fame, right? And then a bunch of his fans like started attacking Dane Cook online. They started going after him, and he
Yeah.
goes, "Listen, this is the thing. I don't like him, but I would a million times rather hang out with him than you." Like fans, right? Because like if they walk into a room, they're 80% the same person.
Yeah. Yeah,
Do you
for
have?
sure.
I'm curious in South Africa if this exists because you guys have, I think, a little bit of the same um, black-white tension
Sure.
because of historical
Yeah,
oppression
yeah,
and
yeah,
whatnot.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's
I
there.
think I've noted. So I've now done two. I'm now an expert on South African comedy because
Because
I've
you've
done
done
two.
two Instagram shows,
I've
of
done
course. Yeah, yeah,
two
exactly.
online shows, five
Yeah,
five minutes,
yeah.
or no, 15 first. But what it seems like to me, because I'm like, trying to feel it out as I go,
Got you.
is at least on the shows that I did,
Mm,
there's not like a ton of you're not it's not like there's not a lot of sensitivity, right? Like I made a couple like kind of racial jokes
right.
to see like kind of test the waters, right?
Yeah,
And maybe Mario's just a great dude, but
yeah.
I didn't feel like it felt more like what I believe East Coast comedy to be like, or when I perform in front of black audiences,
Hmm.
they're substantially less sensitive than white audiences, like white liberal audiences, white like,
Oh, yeah. The wokeness hasn't really hit South Africa just yet. There's one or
oh, look
two
at you.
places that will kind of like are super woke, um, but it hasn't really hit so much in South Africa. There is a
Sure.
bit of racial tension, but it's just like it's just. I mean, okay, the country has racial tension, but I mean,
Yeah.
because like I mean, apartheid's what? It's only been 20 something years since it ended, but it's like
Yeah.
there's tension, but the thing is like it all depends on how it's worded. It all depends on how good the writing is. I mean, like, I think you can like look at Jim Jeffries, Bill Burr. I mean, Dave Chappelle. You can get away with anything if your writing is good. So it's like if it's good comedy and it's on topic and people can generally get away with it. So yeah, no, there's no really much divide, but it's interesting though because like we are quite a very diverse country. But what I've noticed is that religious conservatism, no matter what your religion, that is quite a difficult subject in South Africa.
Really?
People don't really like talking, but don't like the religious stuff. I mean, I've done a lot of
That's
stuff
interesting.
about being Catholic and that type of stuff, and even that gets a bit of ums and ahs, and bringing up God is a bit weird. And I'm like, okay, but we can talk about almost anything else.
That's so strange because I think that was true of the United States comedy in like the maybe 60s, 70s,
Right.
80s. And first off, like you can't make a funny joke about race if there isn't tension, right? Like if there's no
Mm.
tension,
Oh yeah, for sure.
then what's the there's no stakes, and if there's no stakes, then what's the point
Yeah,
of the joke? Then it's
yeah,
just like egregious. Like it has to have stakes, and then yeah, you're like walking a tightrope. The degree of difficulty is higher, I think.
yeah, for
Um,
sure. Well, I
that's interesting.
mean,
Religion.
yeah.
The United States is so agnostic or atheist that, like, honestly, I think people just have to accept it now. You'll occasionally see like a comment, complaint about a comedian being like, when Louis' 2017 special came out, I think I
Mhm.
posted. This is before it was illegal to say good things about him. I
Yeah, yeah,
posted that I really liked it, and a woman goes, I worked at whatever theater in Seattle, and I saw him perform it live, and half the crowd walked out when he did the abortion bit. And I'm like, listen, if
that's
half the crowd walked
bullshit.
out while he did the abortion bit, that would be fucking national news. So
Yes, exactly, exactly. It's just like yeah. It's as I was thinking about like things today. This is like actually, I was watching Ricky Gervais on the Sam and Jim and Sam show, and then he was talking about like his like alternative facts. So what the fuck is an alternative fact? It's facts or it's a lie. It's as simple as that. So it's like it did or it didn't happen, and she's like giving you an alternative fact because that's what she wants to say because she thinks he is so bad. Therefore, obviously, everyone walked out. But I bet you maybe two people got up to buy a drink at that time and it was coincidental. And therefore, in her mind, half of the fucking audience walked out. The thing is,
yeah,
I'm in South Africa. I have no problem fucking saying Louis C.K. is an amazing fucking comedian.
he's
No
a
problem.
tremendously talented guy.
Yeah.
I can't endorse some of his behavior, but he's a
No, for sure.
tremendously talented guy.
For sure.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think that we see what we want to see, and she was offended by it. I
Mm,
don't think that if you're spending $50 to go see Louis C.K., you're
exactly.
gonna be offended by an
don't
abortion joke.
you don't expect Seinfeld. You know what I mean? But like you don't expect Seinfeld if you paid $50 to go see Louis. You pay $50 to go see Louis. You're Louis' crowd. It's like it's just,
Yeah,
and if it's a special, you know what the stakes are. You know.
yeah, for sure. I think also like you're not Louis was at a point, maybe not anymore, but was at a point in his career where it wasn't like you're like, oh, there's a comedian in town, we'll go see the comedian. Like
Yes.
by the
Yeah.
time the random people were accidentally seeing him, all the tickets would be sold out. So nobody's
No, for
accidentally
sure.
seeing him.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, okay, look, there was that instance at Skankfest where he just rocked up and everyone was like, oh, and then they were like, but even now, I think like Joe Lister's spoken about, there's not many people even picketing or worried about him that much anymore. It's like, it was like, it's like I was saying this to someone the other day on the podcast, and it's like it's kind of like everything. Our attention span is so short these days. It's like the media are exploiting it because like they'll just like it's like literally like us with we're like babies and they're just dangling keys in front of us and they're like look at this, okay, forget about Black Lives Matter, okay, now on to the next thing, and then they just start and then we look over there and it's just like everyone's so kind of scattered that cancel culture, like I think someone said like 2020 is the best year to get cancelled because there's going to be like freaking, I don't know, Godzilla's going to come out of the ocean tomorrow, which is going to make, forget about the fact that you made a insensitive comment to someone in freaking 1995.
Yeah, and canceled from what? What are you gonna? I'm gonna lose stand-up gigs? Like I
Yeah.
might not have another stand-up
So
gig this year.
exactly,
Like what?
exactly, exactly. You got nothing. It's like yeah, like Bill Burr always used to say that. He's like, oh well, this is why I don't do anything because then you've got nothing to take away from me. You can't take anything away from me if I'm just doing my own thing. And I guess that is the thing about the best thing about stand-up comedy. Is that your full-time gig, stand-up?
No, I have a day job.
Oh, okay.
I do all right in stand up, but financially, but I also have a mortgage and a child, so
Yeah,
you know,
fair enough. Fair
gotta
enough.
pay for things.
Yeah, man, you
Yeah.
got to do it.
How
Shit.
about you? Is it your full time gig?
No. I'm a draftsman, so I work in
Okay.
architecture full time, and then I've got one on the way. So I'm just like,
Oh,
you know me.
congratulations.
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah,
I'm
he's
assuming you want
due.
it. I don't know. Maybe that could be bad news. I don't know.
Well, I mean, like, I'm happy about it now. Let's put it that way. And when he comes, I will also be very happy about it. But like, this is to say that. But yeah, I can't wait. Actually, he's supposed to be coming at the end of August, but he's gonna come when he wants to come. I've noticed because sometimes, like now we're like, oh, okay, we just don't know now. He's like, he's on
Yeah.
his own schedule.
Yeah. My wife and I, our daughter she's almost a year old. She'll turn a year old August 6th.
Oh wow.
And
Okay.
she she was due August 2nd, and I remember when August 2nd rolled around, we were like, this is the day,
Yeah.
let's go. And then she wasn't born until August 6th. So yeah,
Wow.
they'll come whenever they want, man. It might be 2 weeks before, it could be 2 weeks after.
And also, but I just feel sorry for the ladies, boo, because I mean, like, if it's like on the due date and he's not coming, I'm sure she must be like, just get the fuck out of me. I'm so sick of this thing. Because she's in her third trimester now. And then, like, how are you doing today? And she's like, pregnant. How do you think I'm doing? I'm like, I understand. I mean, I don't understand, but I understand why you're irritated with me. And it's just like, okay, this is the wrong type of chocolate. I understand where I made my mistake. I did not listen to you. You said white. I got milk. I apologize. Please don't bite my head off. You know what I mean? Like a praying mantis.
Yeah.
Just like, please. It's fine.
Yeah, I can confirm the thing about her dying to get the baby out.
Yeah. So
right
those 4 days, were rough.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be. Let's just say it wasn't limited to those 4 days that it was rough. It was, I think the 2 weeks leading up to the 4 days, there was a lot of tension building, and then when the due date came and went, I think that the tension reached an all-time high.
All-time high, yeah, man. It's like, yeah, sure. It's like I don't know. It's like it's such a weird thing because it's like you don't have recourse. You don't have anything to say. It's like, oh, I stubbed my toe. Oh, really? You stubbed your toe? You stubbed your toe? Okay, great, yeah, for sure. I'm carrying your seed in here. You know what I mean? It's like it's the ultimate trump card. There's no winning an argument when they're carrying your child. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I think they know it as well.
Yeah, no, I know. I would try to avoid arguments in that stretch because you're right. You're not going to win. So the only thing you can do to control it is just avoid them.
And do everything that they say when they say it as soon as possible.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to give the only piece of unsolicited fatherly advice that I think I could give anybody, all right?
Appreciate it.
For it.
No, I'll take it.
All right. So through the first month or longer, you're going to feel completely useless. Your child's going to depend on your wife or girlfriend substantially more than you. You're going to matter almost nothing to that baby. Mm-hmm. But you can change every fucking diaper. You can make every bottle. You can give every bath. You can clean. Just do especially the diapers, I think. I just did every single diaper I could. I probably changed 90% of the diapers the first.
Wow.
Because, dude, you just can't do anything. You can't help, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and I've heard that as well. It's just like, you for the first month, 2, maybe even 3, you're irrelevant. You're just you're not even, it's just the baby's sitting there thinking, like, who's this dude you keep hanging around? What is he doing? Why is he touching me? Why does he keep changing me? What is he doing? I don't need this guy. This guy's ridiculous.
Yeah, once my daughter smiled at me, I was like, oh, this is it. Okay, this is good. But until then, you're just an unappreciative person in my life. Only taking. You're not giving me anything.
Except for material. I'm sure she gave you material. I've also heard that's a good thing. It's at least 7 to 10 new minutes, which I'm happy about. That's fine. I can deal with that. Everyone does.
I'd say so in the United States, they say the average baby costs $225,000 to raise. So I think in money, I think I did the hold on. Let's see. I have the calculator right here. 225,000 is 3.7 million rand to raise, which is you have to be a really fucking good comedian for that 7 minutes to be worth.
Yeah. It's a very, very
a lot of people making that much money off of 7 minutes.
I did not do the accounting on that at all, actually. I was like, fuck, you just popped my balloon, man. I was just like, I was holding on to that little helium thing was keeping me up and holding me up, but I'm just like, it's done now. I'm just like, yeah, fuck. But you do get the joy of having freaking, I don't know, a legacy, I guess, or something. I don't know. I'm trying to look for something now. I'm fishing.
It's really cool, man. I wouldn't take it back for anything. We did it on purpose. That was a big deal for us.
That's cool. That's cool. That's good. That's good.
I really love it. I think you'll like it a lot.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
But it's certainly not without challenge. You're gonna sleep less than you've ever slept before. Also, everybody will tell you, they'll be like, "Oh, sleep while you can." It's not like you store up hours of sleep. You're
It
still gonna
doesn't
be
work
fucking
like
tired.
that. It doesn't
Yeah,
work like that. Yeah, it's just like, oh no, yeah, for sure. I had 5 hours yesterday, and now today I only need half an hour. It doesn't fucking work like that. It's insane. No,
yeah,
fuck.
that's stupid.
Yeah. What is your podcast called?
Nobody likes Casey McLain.
Oh, that's funny. Okay, fine. It's because that's because of the co-host situations.
Kind of. I'm like, I would say that in general, I'm a little bit of like a grumpy guy.
Mm. Yeah, for
So
sure.
I think that when I make friends, I know they're my real friends because I'm not like a warm, outgoing person.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think it's mostly tongue in cheek, but it's
It's
meant to
got,
be funny more than honest. But
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah.
co-host thing plays into it, right?
Have?
The co-host thing plays into it.
No, for sure. It's got some truth to it, but it's also got some truth for you. So yeah, it makes sense. Do you think that's why you struggle with the co-host though? Because of your surly demeanor? No, I
It
mean,
really does not help.
I honestly sympathize because I'm fucking, I feel like I'm the same. I also struggle to keep and hold on to friends because I'm quite surly to begin with. And I'm also kind of like, I've had like a quite a strong group of friends for a long time. And then every time someone new comes in, I'm like, who's this fucking guy? Who are you?
Yeah, exactly.
Who the fuck are
Exactly.
you know you, and then
Yeah.
eventually, like 6 months later, I'm like, I love this guy. You know what I mean? But I didn't give the guy a chance. You know what I mean? Because it's like I don't know what it is. I think
Yeah, they
I'm
have to earn your respect. I think that's it.
yeah,
I'm like, I think I'm a principled person, and that
okay.
doesn't mean that it's popular, right? Like, it doesn't have to be popular for me to like it. In fact, I kind of like when my principles take me away from. By the way, that's what being a comedian is, right?
For
It's like if you're
sure.
a comedian that just follows the popular line of thinking, then why be a comedian? Let everyone else do that.
Yeah, for sure. It's like you get, yeah, exactly. It's like you even see those comedians, and it's just like, you know what I mean? Even like some of the biggest comedians, I'm just like, I can't do it. It's just like I find that actually a lot of British comedians are like that. They're
Oh,
very
really?
kind of, yeah, kind of like play to the masses. You know what I mean? They're not like kind of original or interesting or whatever. It's like maybe I find like clean comics maybe like that, but then having said that, like someone like Brian Regan is like completely original. Like that guy, there's no one like him. You know what I mean? He's kind of like goofy and weird and out there and hilarious. And it's like, oh, but he's completely clean. He doesn't swear or do anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jim Gaffigan maybe isn't.
Yes.
He's maybe not like delivering the most original premises constantly,
Yeah.
but he'll have a joke that's like about fatherhood, and you're like, oh, that's every possible angle you
Yeah.
could take on fatherhood
Yeah.
in that scenario. Like,
Yeah.
that dude's so brilliant. And then just the fact that he doesn't swear
Yeah.
is like, that's what makes him clean. But I don't think you watched him get like, I think if you notice that comedy's clean, it's probably not doing its job, right? I think
Wow.
like, do
Good
you
point.
watch Nate Bargatze at all?
I do know Nate Bargatze. I know him actually because of the whole New York like stand-up
Oh,
scene or whatever. They just mention him and talk about him all the time. Yeah, that's
yeah,
how I find him.
he's kind of unique in that, like, because like Brian Regan's I think pretty high energy.
Mm,
Gaffigan's like this dad that talks about being a dad and a
mm,
Catholic and whatnot. Nate Bargatze was doing comedy, clean comedy, when he was like a alcoholic in New York.
oh,
And
really?
yeah, and he's his personality just, he could get a laugh on a stammer.
Yeah,
It's like a pause. He'll get a laugh on a pause, and I'm like, how the fuck? Like, it's just
yeah.
such a brilliant delivery, and not he doesn't have to uh, like oversell a joke, right? He's not like doing crazy big act outs or anything like that.
No, for sure. Yeah, it is. It's like, yeah, no, that's a good point. But it's like, I guess that means that there's a place or there's a time, you know what I mean? There's a place for everyone. So like whatever your comedy is, but it's like, it's all about the confidence, and it's more like the more you are, the better. Like the other night when I was doing the thing with Mario, I did write down a couple of jokes, and it was a little bit of scripted stuff that I just wanted to try and throw out there. But then I felt more comfortable when I was just out of my head and I was just like riffing with him and going
Yeah.
and going and going. And it's like, so it's not something that I've actually been much into, but something I want to get into more is probably crowd work. Because it's like, it's just another, I guess, like tool in your
Hmm.
arsenal. But I haven't actually really done that because I've always been quite scared of the crowd, funnily enough.
Yeah, I think it's like a double-edged sword, right? I think you can get dependent on it. I've
Mm,
I've met a lot of comedians like that do a lot of like bad road gigs, and then they
Mm.
develop bad habits from those bad road gigs. So it's like if you're in a bar that's all full of cowboys and they're like
Uh,
loud and you have to get their attention, when you're doing a bookstore full of people wearing sweaters,
yeah.
you don't have to do all the same stuff. But if your only training is doing that one thing, then you're going to do
Yes.
very poorly in that bookstore. You know what
For
I mean?
sure. Yeah. Have you done the road yourself?
Yeah, I've done a decent amount of the road.
Oh wow.
I've done like there's a place in Washington State called Joker's Comedy Club. That's
Okay.
apparently there's like a documentary where it's considered the worst comedy club in the country.
Really?
And I've probably worked it 12 times or
Oh,
something like.
well, it keeps having you back. So I mean, like, cool.
Yeah, I don't know that there's a lot of demand to go out there. It's fun. I like it. My wife's grandparents live out there, so I get to like it's like kind of a nice excuse to go. I'm gonna go see your grandparents. So
Okay, but you also want to do comedy. Shit. But
yeah, yeah,
that's the thing. In South Africa, we don't really have kind of the road. We've got like Johannesburg and Cape Town, which are the main things, and
sure.
there's a few clubs in each, and if that, but then it's mainly just bars and like restaurants and that type of thing. It's like that's more how it is. The scene isn't massive here. It's not
hmm
huge, and
How
but
many how many people are like full-time comics? Like that's their only job in South Africa.
a couple I can think of, or maybe oh. I can think of maybe I could say 10 at the moment that I can think of in Johannesburg, you know what I mean, who are doing full-time comedy. But like a lot of them have kind of like come up with, like there's a guy called Robbie Collins, for example, who used to open for Trevor Noah. And then
Okay,
also, and then when Chappelle came here, he opens for Chappelle. And then when he goes over to the States, he tours with Chappelle a bit as well. So there's like they definitely have like a South African kind of like following, and then they do just that, yeah. But then they also do quite a bit of international stuff as well. I don't know if
gotcha.
they
Yeah, well,
can.
that's fine. I think like I mean, as long as it's all comedy, I'd love to like. To me, just because you're going to another country doesn't make it not your job. You know, I mean, I guess they don't stay in South Africa to make their living, but that's good enough. Just being
Yeah, for
just a
sure.
comic is
That's
would
the
be good
dream,
enough.
man.
Yeah. How
Yeah.
about so Cape Town and Johannesburg are the two biggest cities, right?
Yes.
Are those the only two big comedy scenes, or is there another one?
I mean, like I don't. There is a scene in Durban, I'm sure, but it's not particularly that big either. Durban's very kind of like people. I'm not sure if it's as big there. I haven't really been there much. I've been to Cape Town a bit. Cape Town and Joburg mainly.
Sure.
Um, but yeah, no, I haven't been much in Durban. It's not as big. There are a lot of, but it's becoming more and more popular because more and more people want to do it. It's like this massive thing. Like I don't know. It's like before there was no comedians, and now there's just thousands. It seems they're
Yeah.
just popping up all over the place.
How many comedians do you have there? If you had to guess, like, is it multiple thousand?
No, I'd say it's probably like it's in the hundreds.
Oh, that's I mean, great for you guys.
Yeah, yeah, it is. But there's not. But the thing is, the gigs are comparable. So the amount of gigs are comparable to the amount of comedians. So a lot of
Sure.
people, in instances, like for myself, for a while, I did my own gig so I could get time. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I had a mate who had a bar who allowed me to do stage time. He wanted like a Wednesday comedy night. I do it once or twice a month, and then kind of like then that's how I got stage time. That's how I learned how to host a little bit and that type of thing. So you kind of have to. We're burgeoning the industry as comics, but then we're building the industry, and we're also kind of in the industry at the same time. So
Yeah, I think that's a good way to. I think that's kind of the way it works here too. Like
oh, okay.
when I was trying to MC at my local club,
Mm,
and I actually the first time I MC'd was at that Joker's Comedy Club that I was telling you about,
okay.
uh, and it went like fine.
Yeah.
It wasn't great.
Okay.
And then I was like, well, I got to get better at that, and so I started my own room, and then yeah,
Okay.
I was once a month I was MCing, and also like a lot of the same audience members would come, so it was like you have to write some new material. You gotta
Yes.
have something new for those people. I'm
Yeah.
gonna try to start a weekly show because when all this ends, like when
Yeah.
all the quarantine ends, we're all gonna be so rusty, right?
Yes. So
And
much
so
so.
I'm gonna try to start a weekly like But I mean, but truly, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna get my friends on it. I'm gonna get the people who've been good to me in comedy on it. I'm actually gonna get it. This, if you're out there listening, this place here, Little Radio Tacoma, is very
Yeah.
likely to be. It's my friend's restaurant
Okay.
and bar. I used to do my show at their brewery. They have a
Okay.
brewery attached to it, and yeah, but that's like, I think that's invaluable practice. I
Yeah,
think,
for
and
sure.
also like it's not the easiest. This is like, I mean, I'm not even commenting on it. I'll tell you, where I live, they don't want straight white dudes that much on shows,
Wow.
right? Like that's what they're like. Specifically, there's many shows, and that's fine. People need to be able to get stage time in places they feel comfortable about. I'm not even saying it's bad, but what I'm saying is like, uh, I know that I'm going to have to work a lot harder to get on a show where they don't want me than
Yeah,
just
for
to start
sure.
my own show. So I'm going to start my
Wow.
own show.
Yeah, for sure. That's kind of the thing as well. I was doing it when I was an up and comer, and I was just like, I'll start my own show and see how it goes with that. But then it's also the biggest problem. Was that the deal was is that the club would pay or the bar would pay the headliner, because I want to get like a nice headliner just to like give them stage time, and then also introduce, because a lot of the audience were my friends. I was like, and I knew I'd bring the audience. I was supplying the audience, and then the club gets the money from the booze and the food or whatever, and then they pay the headliner, and then I keep the door. That was kind of like the whole deal.
Oh,
But
nice.
then they wanted to stop paying the headliners. So then I
To
was like,
stop paying
well,
headliners?
no, they didn't want to pay. Then I'm like, okay, well,
Oh, wow.
you're not going to get as many people here. You're not going to get a big draw, and comics need money to work. Like, let's just give them something. You know what I mean? And then they were like, no, we're not going to do it. So that's kind of like where we ended it there.
Is so in the United States, a lot of times when a place decides to do comedy,
Mm.
I'm really lucky. This guy I'm friends with that owns this restaurant actually likes comedy. Like
Got you.
he's never said, I've had people come and bomb. I've had people come and be offensive. He's never said to me like, please don't book that person ever again. He's never
Oh
tried to take
wow.
any control over the booking at all. Really enjoys comedy himself in advance. Like before I started booking a show there, he liked comedy. But a lot of times what happens is a business is struggling and their last chance is they're like, oh, if we do open mic comedy, maybe that'll be enough money, having people come in. That'll be enough money to like help us out on a Wednesday or whatever. Is it like
Oh.
that there at all?
Um, I think this was an idea of like something, we need something for Wednesday night. And it wasn't like a last ditch, but there was definitely an essence of not desperation. It was never really a thing of desperation, but it's just like, we need something for it. So maybe mildly, but it's like, yeah, it was like, let's just put something on Wednesday nights. It's not because they're like your friend has a love of comedy, which a love of comedy means that they're just going to do it anyway. You know what I mean? It's just like he loves having comedians there. He loves you doing it. He loves the idea of comedians coming in and performing. He wants comedy at his venue, which is different. Like maybe for me, it could have been, if a salsa night worked, then it would have been a salsa night. If it was like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So it was like,
Speaking of which, Joker's Comedy Club, the place I've talked about, the Saturday night show, their biggest show, most people come out, highest ticket sale show. You have to end the show by 9:20. If you're not off stage by 9:20, you'll get in trouble because Salsa Night's coming right after you.
Oh my word, that's hilarious. Is it actually on a Saturday night? That's so strange. I mean, I guess that's what people want to do in Tacoma, is they want a salsa.
Yeah, well, this isn't in Tacoma. This is 100 miles away or something like that.
Yeah.
Or I have no idea. You guys, if I say miles, do you guys know what I mean? Does that matter? Like,
Oh, I know.
I don't.
I know because I lived in the UK, and then we use miles. So we use the imperial, and then now I know. I just know it's like it's 1.6 kilometers
Okay.
to every
So it's
mile.
yeah.
160
Whatever
kilometers.
oh yeah, that's right. Okay, anyway.
160 kilometers. Yeah.
So it's 100 miles away, 160 kilometers away.
Yeah.
It's probably more than that, but I think it's 200 miles away. But that area has a very large like Mexican immigrant population.
Yes.
So that salsa night is like wild. It's first off, it's huge. It's so like they should just make it a salsa club. Get rid of the comedy, because they get more people out and more excited for that than any other thing I've ever seen there. Because every night after the show, there's something else that happens, and it'll be like, Here's a dueling piano band. Nobody gives a shit. Here's a hip hop DJ. Nobody gives a shit. Salsa night, dude, shut the place down. Make the whole place a dance floor. It's salsa night.
That's so crazy. So you've got to beat the salsa night. So is it? But is it primarily just a comedy club, or is it a venue that has comedy?
It so it's a bowling alley that has a casino inside of the bowling alley, and then inside of the casino is a club that is a comedy club 3 nights a week, and then the rest. I mean, it is like a proper comedy club. There's seats, there's everything. It's been a comedy club for, I don't know, 20 years or more. It's been a comedy club for a very long time, but it is also all of those other things. So they'll pull all the seats off, and there's a dance floor in the middle of the room. It's pretty wild.
Okay, that is interesting. Jeez, yeah, they like. Well, the thing is, like, one of the biggest clubs, or probably the biggest club here, is in a casino as well, and it's called Comedy and Jive, which is Jive is like kind of like a swing dancing vibe thing,
Sure.
but it's actually just comedy now. So that's like,
oh, cool.
So that's probably the premier club in South Africa, actually.
I would guess that if comedy was successful enough for them, they would be just comedy. I know that the owner of the place is a comedian or former comedian.
Okay. Does that happen a lot?
Yeah. I think out here a lot of times these comedians, they'll get off the road and they decide they want to be close to their families.
Fair enough.
And I think that the other thing that happens is that they already have relationships with a lot of the headliners out there.
Okay.
And so that's difficult for if you're just a random person opening a comedy club. I think in my local scene, we probably have 500 comedians. In New York, I think there's like 3,000 people that are somehow would identify as a comedian. So like in the United States, it's got to be in the tens or like maybe 100,000 people think they're comedians.
Flipping, oh, that's crazy. So it's like okay. So it's quite, okay. Competitive is like the word I was thinking, but it's just like okay. I understand kind of why it's like dog eat dog or whatever, but like, so is there quite a lot of like stepping on each other to try and get up? You know what I mean? Is it cutthroat?
It's very cutthroat. I mean, I think you'll see stuff where it's like, it's also cutthroat in the name of morality too. It's like, we'll use this, like, in this case, this person, they help me, so I'm going to ignore their transgressions. And in this case, they're rude, or they're not like if I ever fucked up, I'm not a nice enough person to get through it. You know what I mean? Like I think that there's definitely a lot of stepping on other people's necks to get to move up.
That's I guess that's with anything, but it's just like kind of, I think it's attached to the whole showbiz and everything like that as well.
Yeah, for sure.
Shit,
how big is show business as a whole there? Like, hey, you did the same show I didn't actually watch. I watched you on the Wednesday show, but I didn't stick around to watch you with Plasnar.
Yeah.
Who the fuck is that guy?
Bro, I don't know. That was the first time I've ever met him.
Really?
The thing is, I only met Mario over the internet. Like, I haven't met him
really?
Personally. Like, but the thing is, like he's been on the podcast or whatever, and then like I kind of like, because I'm like, I try to be the whole like inclusive thing. But back to Plasner, he does look like a troll. I agree. And it's just like, and because the thing is, I understand that Bongani came on, and I know Bongani quite well, but he came on and he kind of just like ripped into it, and he kind of just shredded him. And I while I was watching that, I did get the impetus. I do understand why he did that, because it's just like, who is this no teeth, purple haired person sitting on this couch in this comedy show? I cannot. It's like if someone makes a loud comment in the audience, you have to address it, and you have to address that pink elephant that was in the room. You know what I mean? I was like, even while I was watching you, and then I was watching everyone else, I was like, okay, I have to come up with something to say to him, whatever. And I was just like, your hair is so shit, it makes me want to panic buy toilet paper again. But what is wrong with this thing? I can't deal. I don't know who he is. It's like, I'm sure. I don't know.
He has 140,000 Facebook likes and like 100-something thousand Instagram followers.
What?
I know. That's what's the dude's name? The first guy that went up. What was his name? No, not
Oh,
Mario.
Bongani.
Yeah, when he was up, I was like, I didn't even know the guy's name was Plasnar. There was no like introduction, like we're also going to be joined by Plasnar. So
Yeah.
dude, for all I knew, it's just, I thought he was the first comic on the show. I thought he was Bongani. I didn't know who anyone is, right?
Well, I
So
was thinking that as well because I'm like, wait a minute, is this guy called Bongani? Because I thought he said Bongani Dube, and I know Bongani Dube quite well, and I've like sat across from him and like, this is not Bongani Dube, so this is very strange. I had no idea Plaza had that many. Well, that's the thing is, this is maybe how maybe I don't know what the word is, but like segregated is like stole it is because the thing is like I can be in the comedy community. And this guy is obviously famous. And I mean, he's got more. That means he's got more likes and more followers than some of our greatest exports. I mean, I don't even know if Luis Ogolo's got that many fucking followers. And Luis
he's
Ogolo,
I would imagine he's famous because of he's a fighter. That's what I found out during my segment. He's like a mixed martial arts fighter.
he's a mixed martial arts fighter.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel bad. Oh, okay, Plasno, here you go.
He's gonna
Plasno,
beat the shit
Eugene
out of you. I'm so glad I don't live near him.
comedian, actor, model, entertainer, motivational speaker, aka Plasno from Laplace. Yeah, okay. All right, okay, yeah, he is somewhat famous. I don't know if
Yeah.
he just does random shit because there's also like, I mean, there is also people who do like little things who do like very local based kind of comedy and sketches, and he's got
Yeah.
like millions of subscribers, and you know his videos get 400,000 views, and it's like all South Africans. You know, he'll do like different, like we've got like different levels of, he'll do different levels of checkout attendance at the different levels of, you know, socioeconomic, like whatever shops, and then he does like those, and then or at different McDonald's, KFC, etc., what they're like in South Africa, and he kills. So yeah, I mean, and I don't even know his name, so I guess I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Plasnar is internationally famous, but I was blown away, and then that means that guy's he's like probably making decent money, I would imagine, doing all that stuff.
I guess
And
so, yeah.
and
Yeah, I'd never seen him before in my life. That was the first time I'd ever met him. I had no idea who he was, and I was like, okay. And I was just like, what's going on? I think I don't know. I think maybe Mario knew that he had that kind of like fame, and he was like bringing him in as a, I don't know, yeah, as a surprise or something.
yeah, and then he also speaks Afrikaans, which is a language that I was not even aware of until 4 days ago. But
Really?
I heard somebody. I mean, I think I might have known it, but not like I had never heard it spoken before. And then like I think he was weaving in and out of English and Afrikaans, maybe even just repeating the same thing in English.
Yeah,
But I was
sure.
like, he speaks very fast, like thick accent on his English.
Yeah.
And spoke with so much confidence in English and so fast that I was just like it was a whirlwind. Like I had no idea what the fuck was going on.
And you went up first afterwards, after Bongani. You're like, what is going? I mean, it must have been quite a shock to you because you're like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know what this guy is even saying to me. You handled it very well.
I wasn't even supposed to go up. I wasn't supposed to go up. That Miss Chit Chat was supposed to go up, but she didn't. I don't think she got into the thing. So
oh shit. Okay.
So I got one of those classic bad comedy intros where they're like, okay, who so and so? Oh, I guess they're not here. So Casey.
Casey, and then you're like someone from America that you've never heard of before. Welcome, and you're like, so anyway, who are you with the pink hair? But then you did the troll doll thing, which was perfect. I think it was just freaking.
Yeah, that's fine. I was hoping it wasn't hacky. All I wanted I wanted it to be not hacky, and also to actually resonate that you guys knew what the troll doll was.
Yeah, we did. Oh, but that's also the thing as well. It's like, okay, wait, do they even have troll dolls in South Africa? You know what I mean? It's just like the worry of it. It's.
I had a joke about homeschooling, which you guys have homeschooling there.
We do have.
I did it in Canada, and they were like, it was like half the crowd didn't even really get what I was saying.
Really?
Like in Canada, even like homeschooling is not very common, I guess.
Well, it is definitely a thing here, but it's like I don't know if it might be in their specific community because I think it might be a bougie kind of like upper class or like reserved for, I don't know, I want to say, but like like a certain section of the population would be homeschooled. Like I think they'd be like, oh well, whatever government school is closest or whatever public school is closest, that's the
Yeah.
school that you kind of go to. You know what I mean?
For us,
Um,
homeschool is like if you're like a religious extremist,
yeah. So they don't
you have to be like some crazy offshoot of Christianity or something like that. Like
an
if
evangelical.
yeah, very much so. If you like won't eat if you're Christian but you won't eat animals with hooves, you're probably also homeschooling your children. You know what I mean?
Okay, fair enough. Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. If it's not a cloven hoof, Levi,
Yeah.
he don't eat no cloven hoof. Levi, and they've got like the shaved head with a long ponytail down the back, you know, and then they speak in tongues. That's how they communicate with their mother and stuff like that.
Yeah, like dad, mom, and all the children look too related. Like they all look like they're all kind of sisters and brothers,
Yeah,
even though
exactly.
they're mother, father, and
Yeah,
children.
it's like Jeff Dunham had that great joke. It's like, where did you meet your wife? It's like at the family reunion. You know what I mean? It's just like, would you say you've got like a type of comedy or like a thing?
I mean, I don't think that there's a gimmick. If I was gonna talk about like influences,
Mm.
I'd probably say I actually had a buddy tell me that I sound a lot like Mark Norman to him, which I don't know if that's. I
That's a
don't think that's
in my book.
it's a
That's a
compliment, but I don't
compliment.
know if I get it. Like, I don't think that it's
So
necessarily.
you don't see it? It's okay, fine.
Yeah, if I sound like anybody, it's Louis C.K. for sure. Like I loved Louis C.K. before I did comedy.
Mm.
I think that like a lot of my material is real life stuff, like
Yeah,
the like kid material, right? Is like not a glowing review of parenthood.
for
You know what I
sure,
mean?
for
Like
sure.
it's
Yeah. You want to hear about the
uh,
shitty nappies and shit like that? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Dude, I've written so many jokes about shitty diapers that I'm like, oh, that's already a Louis C.K. joke.
Oh
There's no way
wow.
he's written the best shitty diaper jokes in the world. I can't ever write a shitty diaper joke because they've all been done by him.
Got you. So it's hacky by association because someone's just done it too well. Not even hacky. It's just like there's no like. It's like you're talking about Jim Gaffigan. He has looked at every angle.
Yeah, exactly. It's like and I bet you most audiences wouldn't know, but and even probably
Mm,
most comics wouldn't know that this is like too close to a Louis C.K. joke, but I would know.
yeah.
You
Yeah,
know what
for
I mean?
sure. Yeah, it hurts when that
Um,
happens.
and then I'm like a huge fan of Joe List. He's
You
my
said
favorite
so.
comic.
You said so.
Yeah, he's he's I think so of those two, I think they're like both very similar, him and Mark Norman,
Mm.
but I think that he's obviously like a little more introspective on stage. You actually like Mark Norman gives you no part of his actual life on stage.
No, he's
And
set up
Joe,
punch, set up punch, set up punch.
yeah, I mean, and it's not nobody could no like not everybody could write those jokes,
Yeah,
and he has a unique delivery, but like
for
a
sure.
lot of his jokes anybody could tell him, they just couldn't
Right.
write.
Right.
Joe List, it's like a lot of the jokes I think are his. It's not only about him and they're real stories about him, but his delivery is great and his writing is great and all that stuff
Yeah.
too.
It's weird because like after watching them for a while and like I it's weird because I saw like I found because Joe it was actually he was on Rogan first, Joe List, and then I was like, oh, okay, whatever, and then I saw Normand, and then he's like Normand is like very like I think he's good on the day. Do you know what I mean? He's like he can perform when you turn him on. If he's hungover and he's a little gay, you know what I mean? He's on. You know what I mean? He's like
Yeah,
he can switch that on. But I feel Joe List is more him. Like I feel Mark Norman might be a little bit of a caricature of himself. You know, I'm not saying he's dice,
yeah,
but I'm saying it's like he puts something on. I feel like Joe List, like you said, is more introspective. I feel like he's more him. Because whenever there's a problem that was going on with Mark's life, like he'll Joe List is almost like therapizes him a little bit and can kind of like turn him down and bring him back down to level. Like I feel like Joe's done a lot of work on himself with regards to like who he is and the type of person he is
yeah.
and his anxieties and all that stuff. That's why I'm really enjoying that mixed Mindful Metal Jacket, his other podcast. I've really enjoyed
Mindful
that.
Metal Jacket.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't know if you've seen it. Well, yeah.
yeah, it's really good. I like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I've met both those guys.
Oh wow. Okay.
I met so Joe List I've actually worked with 2 times.
Okay.
Mark Norman I met because my friend was working with him, and then we all went to a bar after. And he is Mark. I will say he is Mark Norman off stage also.
Oh
Like
really? Fantastic. Okay,
there,
that's good.
I do
Love
feel
that.
like there is a level of guardedness, like,
Right.
but I don't like. Yeah, I think that's like if there's a character, I think he's putting it on all the time. I'm not disagreeing with you. There might be a character, but I think he's putting it on all the time. Yeah, Joe List is like, he's just not a big. I would have been interested to meet Joe List pre-quitting drinking to see what
Yes.
how close that was to like the Mark Normand that we see.
Yes, yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm sorry I say that about Mark Norman, but I do hope to. I mean, I hope he's not like that character, and I hope that's the way he is all the time. But he seems like maybe it's just that he's actually so unique. He's just so much of a different type of person that I've never seen anyone like him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's probably like all the stories I've heard about him is like he's not an easy guy to get close to, and it's all that stuff, right? I think that's part of the deal. I think part of his personality is that he's
quite guarded,
this, like, kind of guard up. He's got this barrier up where you're never going to get close to him. That's why on stage he's not super introspective. Maybe.
No, for sure.
I would say I try to be like. I just burped into the microphone. I'm sorry about that.
Nothing wrong with that. I don't mind.
We're talking about Tuesdays with Stories, and I'm apologizing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think I'm like introspective, but also like there's definitely a barrier of like privacy where I'll make a joke that's absurd instead of telling like a gruesome true story. And I also think that like personally on stage, I'm like, I love a joke. I would hope and this is like unpopular in the United States right now, but I would hope that when I get off stage, you don't actually know what my political beliefs are.
Okay.
And it's not because I never talk about like political stuff. I would hope that I'm on both sides when it's deserved.
Yes.
That to the point that you don't know, like you wouldn't know for sure who I voted for. I'll tell you, I didn't vote for Donald Trump. Okay. Like I'll tell you and me in this private conversation that no one else will ever see. I did not vote for Donald Trump, but I don't want necessarily the benefit of the doubt on that when I get on stage, because I'd like to be able to like play into that a little bit. Right.
Yeah.
So, like,
so you don't want to be polarizing necessarily. You want to be, not every man, but you want to because I think like the greater comedians, they can argue both sides of any story. They can argue both.
I'd like to punch just as hard at both sides.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, okay, cool.
They're just as ridiculous too, by the way. Like we're just as the Democrats in the United States are acting like babies also, right? Like the
Antifa. I mean, look, I only see it from the outside, but I'm just like look, it's like South Africa's political history is not great. We've had corruption, and it's like very open corruption, and there's been nothing we could do about it. But then the thing is, like, everyone now, we're in this moment where we're looking at America and we're like, okay, we're not that bad. You know what I mean? It's just like, we're not that fucked up. It's like, okay, cool. It's just like, we're getting it wrong, but like the world superpower, they can't even get their shit together. We're not so bad. But it's like, it's not a nice thing to be like, oh, okay, cool. We're it's not like getting hit in the face by John Jones or like some like top or like Mike Tyson. It's like getting hit in the face by the guy that Mike Tyson got knocked out by. Oh no, that Mike Tyson knocked out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I think. I mean, it's a super divided time in this country, which to me is, I think, what people miss about the origins of comedy is that when things are divided, that's where comedy comes from. It's not from. It's having an unexpected take when things are divided. Like comedy became famous in like the 1970s here when we were in the middle of the Vietnam War, and there was like all this like controversy over sexuality and religion and all this stuff. It's comedy is born from these moments. I think,
for sure.
in my opinion. And so I don't think that, so like I definitely like I think there's very real problems in this country, and I'm sure your country also, based on the history of like inequality, right? And we should be working to fix that inequality. And I think a lot of people are fighting that fight, and that's great. I'm going to donate money, and I'm going to tell jokes on stage that maybe don't address that, because I'm not the person you should be coming to for your advice on race relations.
Yes. You know? But then this is the hilarious thing about outrage culture. It's just like they look at they're looking at comedians, especially in America, from what it looks like from the outside, as like these bastions of truth and honor and who should be upholding all of these values. I'm like, no. I get paid to tell dick jokes.
Yeah, the biggest problem that happened is when people decided that I've heard this phrase and it's so fucking annoying
Yeah.
is that comedians are the new philosophers.
Fuck
We're
off.
not the new fucking philosophers. Most of us are alcoholics and addicts and flawed people who are thinking very little about philosophy.
Yeah.
One of
Yeah.
the things that philosophers did a lot was think about philosophy.
Yes.
I don't think
Yeah.
about philosophy ever.
No, no, no. Neither do I. Neither do I. We think about like what words can I put together that's going to get put that will result in a laugh. That is it.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter how we get there. We will get there like psychopaths. We will run over children.
yeah.
We will laugh in the faces of anything just so we can get a laugh. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah,
like,
I heard Joe Rogan say a thing, and I'm generally not. I actually, it's funny. I worked with Joe List right after he did Joe Rogan,
okay.
and there was this guy. I was emceeing, and the feature came in, and we were having a conversation about Joe Rogan,
Yeah.
and the feature came in, and he just wanted to like interject himself into the conversation. And he
Got
goes,
you.
isn't it like he's so like deep, it's amazing. And I was like, oh no, we were saying the exact opposite. He's a dumb guy talking about these things in a way that's like not interesting to me. I like when he has comedians on, but like
Yeah.
I could go the rest of my life without hearing him talk to a scientist again.
Wow. Okay.
That's my opinion. I'd love to be on your show, Joe. I'm not against it. But he did say a thing to me that was very interesting, which was a person came up to him after the show and they're like, do you really believe all those things that you said on stage? And he's like, no, but what I believe isn't as funny as that.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty much how I feel, which is like literally as a comic, I will go against my own beliefs to get a better laugh, a bigger
Wow.
laugh, more laughs, right?
Wait, did Liz say that?
No, Joe Rogan did.
Joe
Sorry.
Rogan said, "Oh, I don't believe all those things." But I mean, that's an incredibly eloquent and like thought. I think it's like, yeah, I don't believe all those things. And like, yeah. But the thing is, that's the problem. That's the problem that I find is like, okay, like skirts. Because I mean, like, okay, so your influences are Louis, and then you like Norman, or your friend says that like, you know, he reminds you of him. And then I've been like into quite like some dark comedians in South Africa as well. And but the problem is that when skirting that line, it's a tricky thing because, you know, like bombing on stage is horrible. You the other night you said like eating a plate of dicks. I know
Yeah.
what that feels like. I know I've heard that before and I understand that statement. And I'm just like, eating a plate of dicks on stage is horrible. But eating a plate of dicks on stage because you're doing badly and they hate you because you're saying something heinous makes it twice as worse. So it's just like the edgy comedy is just like it's another layer of like difficulty I think it adds.
Yeah, and we live in this society where like everybody gets to interject their opinion into everytheverything, right? So like I
Yeah,
have this joke where I didn't do it on here, but I talk about you guys use the word millennial in South
we do.
Africa, right? I
We
actually
do.
looked
Yeah.
this up the other day because I was gonna do that joke yesterday, and then Plosnar started talking to me in the middle of my material, so I just started talking to him again.
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
but I have this joke where I talk about being a millennial, and it gets revealed pretty early in. So I talk about how I didn't know what the word meant, and then I found out what the word meant, and it turns out I am a millennial.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, but you find out pretty early on. Like I talk about my age in my act, so you know I'm a millennial if you know what the word means.
Yes.
And I'll say I just found out what the word means, and people want to yell out. They're like, I know the right answer to this. You're a millennial. You're a millennial, and I'm like, I'm a fucking comedian on stage. You don't think that I have a joke that's gonna lead us to that? You know what I mean? Like I fucking wrote this
Yeah.
months ago,
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
think that I realized that at some point you might also realize that I'm a millennial? You piece
It's the
of shit.
fucking point. You shut
Yeah,
up and listen.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just trust me to go along for the ride, you
Yeah,
asshole.
yeah. It's just like it's
Yeah.
just not multiple choice, motherfucker. Shut up. It's not like this is not a school. I'm not your teacher. You're not fucking my retarded students. Oh, you can't say that word anymore. You're not my whatever. It's just like
I was actually impressed that you said it with such confidence
I
because
don't care.
yeah, you guys aren't. I love how, dude. I really had fun on both the shows I did because I didn't feel ever like, ooh, stepping on toes at all. Dude, I love that feeling. That's like you guys. I'm sure it's so fun to do comedy in South Africa.
It is still, it's a little bit still like the Wild West here. We still can't get away with a lot of things. There's social outrage and recreational outrage and like woke culture, whatever. It's just like, the thing is, I think a lot of it is because South Africa's been through so, this is my take on it, but South Africa's been through so much. It's just like, it is still quite a dangerous country in instances. There is still freaking a lot of crime, and like it can be very dangerous or whatever. We got bigger shit to fucking worry about, to be honest. Whether or not we don't get offended by cuck easily, because it's just like, well, like I could be hijacked and shot, you know. And I'm not saying it's all like that, but there is a possibility. You know what I mean? It's just like it's greater than it is in America, for example. So it's like we've got real shit to worry about. We don't care about being offended by something, but when people do get offended, it gets a roll, and people start to like really kind of. And we also do follow America, so it is now becoming quite shishi and quite kind of like, what's the word? Popular and trendy to be outraged. So there are a lot of fucking premenopausal Karens brewing. I used to date one. You know what I mean? They're just like they get irritated and pissed off about things. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, cool, bro.
Yeah.
You grew up in a very affluent part of fucking South Africa. You've never, ever known any adversity at all. And you are putting a black social media profile picture. Okay. Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I'm kind of hoping that that's what this period of COVID quarantine does for us, is because, yeah, I mean, if you're my age, you're 34, I'm 34, born in 1986. My whole life, America has been the world's superpower. I've basically lived in a constant period of economic incline. We had a recession in 2008, but like it's never been like my grandpa he fought in World War II. He was the Great Depression in the United States. He lived through that. It's amazing to think my grandpa, I mean, it's not amazing for anybody else in the world, by the way, but in the United States, it's amazing to think that my grandpa was alive at a time when the United States was not the world superpower. And now we're here, and maybe we're facing that again. It's been so easy as a middle-class white person in this country that we're inventing our own problems. And so I think that it's like what I hope that's why it's so fun. I believe that's part of the reason why it's so fun to perform in front of predominantly black audiences, is because they can't spend, like, they've had real adversity in their life.
Yeah.
And so they're not going like, ooh, did he use the right wording? Is that the most modern woke term for that thing? It's like, dude, I'm just here to fucking laugh, have a couple drinks, and forget about my week. I don't need someone to talk to me about the news or all the things going wrong in the world. I am plenty aware. I can't divorce myself from all the problems in the world, because a lot of those problems are my problems. So just make me fucking laugh.
Yeah,
you know
exactly. I mean? But that I mean, that used to feel like, or could feel daunting, but now it's just like, fuck, that's all you want. You want a crowd who is there for comedy and wants to laugh. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what you want.
My perfect audience is diverse. And by diverse, I mean the actual meaning of diverse, which is like, I would like rich people, poor people. I'd like people of all races. And I'd like everybody to like comedy. That'd be great. But I think that it's like improv comedy does a lot. They do all this stuff to be inclusive, to have like a diverse cast, but the entire crowd that comes to the shows are white people.
Yeah.
So where is the diversity really, right? Like a lot of people
that's funny.
A lot of people who say they want more black people in comedy would be appalled if they went to a comedy show with a black headliner who is crushing in that room, who is absolutely destroying in that room with material that maybe doesn't pass the moral purity test. Right?
Yeah.
That's like yeah, I mean, that's like the truth. That's why, I mean, if I could be reincarnated as anything, being like Arnez J as a comic in the United States, that I didn't even know who he was.
Yeah.
And then I worked the door at my comedy club, and he sold out like 4 straight shows and crushed for 80 straight minutes.
Really?
Every night. Like,
wow.
Crushed for 80 minutes harder than I've ever heard anybody crush.
Yeah,
he's like the bar for me.
Wow.
And dude, like that he wasn't the most woke comic in the world, you know what I mean?
Yes, for sure. But it's just
he wasn't following all the rules except for just be funny as possible.
Yeah, but I mean, but it's like, I think also because everything now, and because the whole idea that everything is so fucking serious and everything's like so tense at the moment. People like sometimes just want to be like, they want to be, I mean, they don't want, maybe they don't really want to laugh, but they've come for a night off and they want to actually just like get some giggles and like whatever, but it's hard to crack that nut. So they kind of have to be shaken, you know what I mean? So it takes a kind of like a almost like a sharp edge, or like a quick wit, or something that's like, maybe that's going to be a little bit more, I don't know, unpopular, or like not a normal view, that's going to actually break through that shell to get into like the gooey center of where the laughter lives. You know what I mean? It's just like people are tired of fucking being serious. You're right. People are tired of it. And it's just
But
like,
everybody's made this analogy before, but if you went to see a band and you were like, first off, you wouldn't go see a band without knowing who the band was. You'd go listen to a song before you paid money to see a band. That's how little they respect, how comedy's respected, because we're just fucking crooners, basically.
Yeah.
But even then, you wouldn't go like, I came to see this band, but I don't want to ever see someone play the drums. You know what I mean? Like, I cannot, if there's drums on this stage, I'm fucking walking out.
Yes.
Like, what do you think comedy is? If you come to a comedy club, you should at least know what comedy is. It's I don't know, man. But hopefully that all goes away. Hopefully what happens is everybody that doesn't want to be offended stops going to comedy clubs. Unfortunately, that probably means a little bit less money for comedy clubs. But I think that, like, I think there's people that go to comedy clubs that actually aren't there to laugh. I think they want to, they're like investigative journalists, which we don't need any more of those in comedy.
Yeah, for sure. But the thing is, it's like, but looking at like I'm looking at the rise of the recent rise of the comedians now. And maybe it's just like in my circles and the ones that I like, and I think the ones like you're used to as well. It's like the ones who are really pushing the boundaries, or who really are like not buying into the PC fucking woke bullshit fucking Karen culture, are the ones who are doing well. Andrew Schultz, Joe List, you know, like fucking Mark Normand, like I think Jessica Kirsten, she's not fucking like woke in the slightest, you know. There was another example I wanted to use as well, but I forgot. But like, they're all really breaking the mold, and they're really getting their own like kind of like cult and like very big following. But they're not playing by the PC rules at all. They've thrown them away.
Well, I think what's happened is that comedy, like as an industry, and by the way, I'm speaking about comedy as an industry like I have any fucking sway or insider knowledge. I'm barely a fucking comedian, let's be honest. But but I do think what's happened is that those people have recognized that the audience doesn't want what Comedy Central wants to produce. So Comedy Central is going out of business, and Andrew Schultz is a millionaire.
Yes.
So like, why is that? Why is the primary source for comedy, the people who should know better than anybody what comedy audiences want, that has a data team that should be able to decide what comedy audiences want? Why are they? Because I just don't think you'll ever be able to stop the audience from wanting what the audience wants.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. I think that's the place we're at, is Andrew Schultz, for example, is like, and by the way, I didn't even love Andrew Schultz before all this. Like, he wasn't my style of comedy. I don't know if his stand-up my favorite in the world, but he's doing comedy that audiences want to see. And I think that's become throughout this quarantine important for me to think about, is what the wokest people in my local scene want to see does not represent what a 35-year-old guy with a middle class job wants to see necessarily. That doesn't mean that I need to be racist on stage or sexist on stage or whatever. I think every joke that I have, I could defend without problem. I have like a couple lines and jokes where I'm like, this is the truth, least part of this, but it is the truth. I can at least say it is the truth. And then other than that, I can defend every line as not being hateful or whatever. And by the truth, I mean, it's like me. I have a story about a buddy of mine, and I said a thing to him that isn't the most like woke thing or PC thing or whatever, but it's actually what I said. It's the real thing I said in that moment. So
Yeah.
I'm not saying I don't even look good in the story. That's the point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's the deal. It's like people want what Mark Normand is putting out, and these outlets for comedy are refusing to put it out,
Mm.
and so the
Just
water's
sitting.
going to find the path of least resistance, right? If
Yeah.
it's YouTube, then it's YouTube. If YouTube starts to regulate what comedy specials get watched, then they'll find the next medium to put them on.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think it's well. I think the nice thing about the advantage is that the fact that it's so woke that the more edgy kind of guys with something interesting and kind of guys. I think people more than anything is like I think people just are as a broader like stroke because like Andrew Schultz or whatever he's doing things that people like Mark Newman's doing something that people like, but like people who are willing to take a stand and stand up and not fucking pander and not fucking like not capitulate and not bend the knee to the woke community and be like, no, I'm doubling down. Fuck this. I defend, like what you said, I can defend these racist in inverted commas because they're not really, you're not, for a fact that you're not a racist, but you are wording it in a way that kind of like skirts a boundary to get a laugh and speaks to stereotypes or whatever it is. But it's just like people, but you are willing to stand up to that joke and be like, this is it's a joke and here's why, and this is why I'm not going to back down. I think people also appreciate that. You know what I mean? It's like a whole back to Lenny Bruce, fucking Sam Kinison, Andrew Dice Clay prior vibe of like I'm standing up for what I believe in, and this is it.
Yeah, and I think there's like, I mean, I do think there's people who believe in the more woke side of comedy, and I've never said anything. I don't think I've ever said anything bad at all about Hannah Gadsby. I don't care that she made that special or she's got the new special. They're not. I mean, it's not. I don't think that it's going to be something that I'm going to enjoy watching. Yeah. I haven't watched them. I'll give it that. But I've also never said anything bad about it because, well, one, because I've never watched them, but two, I think she should be allowed to make the comedy that she believes in.
Mm-hmm.
And
for sure.
I think I should be allowed to make the comedy that I believe in. I'd like her to not. I'd like her to not try to destroy the rest of the comedy industry, which I think that maybe isn't what she's trying to do anyway.
Yeah.
I also think there's like, she probably has, or not probably, she has valid points. There are bad men in comedy.
Yeah.
I don't think that means that men shouldn't be allowed to do comedy.
100%.
You know what I mean? So like, I don't want to be I don't want to be in the way of her, doing the comedy that she believes in and improving the state of comedy for women and LGBTQ people in comedy. Like but that doesn't mean I'm going to watch it. And it also means that's not what the audience wants to see at large. Yeah. She clearly has an audience. Like, I think at the Edinburgh Festival, she sold out like, every show the whole time.
Mm.
I'm great. I don't know that we could have 25 of those types of comics.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's like I think she has every right to do her type of comedy. We have every right to do our type of comedy individually, but then we have every right not to enjoy her type of comedy, and vice versa. They don't. So that's the thing. It's just like, if you don't like it, don't fucking watch it. Don't come. You're not my audience. You're not the audience that we want or that we're interested in. It's just like, if you don't like it, go watch Hannah Gadsby. Go watch freaking someone who's more woke. Go watch that type of comedy. Then it's out there. That's for you. This isn't. It's just that simple.
I also think that the group that you think should be offended by comedy should be the people who get to decide if something's offensive. So, like, for example, I have a joke about a buddy of mine. One of my best friends from school is black. He moved to Atlanta, Georgia. I visited him there when I was like 22 years old. It's a story about that. And it references the N-word. You're familiar with this in South Africa, the N-word. It references it. I absolutely never say it. The story is about how I don't say that word. Mm-hmm. But my friend came up to me after, white guy, and he goes, I don't like that joke, man. And I was like, oh, dude, why? And he's like, I just don't like jokes about that word. And I was like, it's a joke about me not saying the word. Did you hear? Yeah. He's like, yeah, I just don't like jokes about that word. And then this black guy comes up to me, like approaches me, and my friend like scurries away. And the black dude comes up to me, he's like, dude, you're my favorite comic of the night. That was so funny, that whole bit.
Amazing.
He's like, I know a booker at this place. I'd love to get you booked there. By the way, he was full of shit. He did not know the booker there. He never got me booked anywhere. But he's like, dude, I loved it. So great. He gave me his card, all that. We talked for like 30 minutes about comedy. My friend comes up and he's like, damn, that guy chewed you out for a long time. And I'm like, dude, he didn't chew me out. He said I was his favorite comic of the night. Like,
exactly. It's like Jim Jeffries. He's got that whole thing about being spaz approved, where he will like make fun of people who have like issues or whatever while they're in the audience. Andrew Schultz did that thing where he picked on, which he didn't actually do, but where he went at the guy in the front, and the disabled thing. And they had this amazing back and forth, and it like really works. It's just like I love how, I don't know, but it seems in America, I don't know, but it seems to be predominantly white people who are getting embarrassed and pissed off for other people, where they're like, and that's kind of what this whole, like, what I noticed about the Black Lives Matter thing was, it's like, whoa. Like black people, like, we've got this. We can handle our own shit. Yeah, you know what I mean? We don't need you sticking up for us. You can come along with us and you can protest, but we've got we're figuring this out for ourselves. We don't need you guys. We value your support, but we've got this. You know what I mean? This is the same with me.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. I have a person that I know locally that's a white guy, and he started unfollowing people on Twitter because they weren't being vocal enough about Black Lives Matter.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And so what I was like, first, obviously one of the people he unfollowed is me. That's why I'm bitter about the whole thing. But he hadn't tweeted about oppression of Black people until June 1st, 2020.
Oh,
and his
interesting.
last tweet about oppression of Black people was like June 15th, 2020. So in this 2-week stretch, he became very militant, and he talked about how, first off, he didn't march, can't march, which I didn't march either. There's a goddamn pandemic going on, okay?
Exactly. Oh, and then that's why they wonder why the spike went up. Okay, fine, yeah.
Right, sure. And by the way, like, if there's a reason, if there's going to be a coronavirus spike in this country, I would hope it's for something like that and not so people can go get drunk on the beach. I would love it.
Fair enough.
I'd hope it's for people's human rights, right?
Fair enough.
But yeah, absolutely, it does seem suspicious that there's this enormous spike as protests are ongoing.
Yeah.
However, so this guy, he says, I can't march, but I can call my local representatives every day. I'm sure he stopped calling months or weeks ago, right? Like, and to me, that's the thing where it's like, if you're just going to be a temporary supporter, if it's going to be your like cause celeb where you're like, oh, this week it's trending on Twitter to be, just donate your fucking money. Because at least when you're gone, that the effect of you donating money still exists, right?
Yes.
It's led to a person, having their bail paid or something like that.
Yeah.
And even like at that point, be responsible about who you donate your money to.
Yeah.
If you want to be this aware person, be an aware person, not just a scold of other people around you.
Yeah. It's that is literally, that's the Twitter version of those Instagram models going out and taking a picture of them hammering in a board after the protest. It's the same thing. It's just as good. It's just like, it's fake activism to score brownie points from the freaking, like, from white people. That's not, no black dude is like, that's the thing, is they just want the local comedy scene that's mostly white people to approve of their actions. Like I did the changing your thing to the black sure.
And it's because I saw my closest black friends doing that, and I was like, okay, that's like literally the least I can do. I'm not gonna post every time I fucking donate to a cause.
Yeah, for sure.
But if this is something I can do to show support, I'm gonna look into it briefly, and I'm gonna trust that my friends, that this is like in support of my specific friends, this is what they're doing. I'll do it.
No, fair enough. Fair enough.
I'm not using hashtags. I'm not trying to get new followers out of it. And then I'm also like, I'm not going to be bullied into keeping it. You know what I mean? That shit.
It all comes down to the intention. What intention is it? If it's freaking, if you've got the good intentions and it's why you want to do it, then fucking do it. Like, but it's just like doing it for the brownie points and doing it for something else. It's just like, I don't know what it is. It's just like, people are so incessant with people thinking that they're a good person, and then they don't want to step on anyone else's toes, and then it's almost just like everything is like kind of like get it off me and onto someone else. It's just like I don't want that. Oh, I'm aware. Like it's like no one wants to be seen doing anything wrong or whatever. I mean, like I think it's the millennials, because I am just in the millennials. Like I was 84. I was born in 84, and it's like, but it's like it's this fucking ninth place participation trophy, fucking coddled, like, you know, like thing. Like it's just like I was still kind of like brought up with like kind of the rough and tumble. I'm like, you know, fucking skim your knee, rub some dirt on it, get back on the field type of vibe. You know what I mean? And there is like now that would be considered child abuse. You know what I mean? It's just like, but like the line is so different now. You know what I mean? It's just like, fuck, someone needs to spank these children.
Yeah, I worked with this guy in at a you know, one of the things too about folks like this is if you never work manual labor in the United States, you may never have to have a real relationship with a lower socioeconomic class minority in your entire life, right? I worked manual labor. I worked with this guy who had recently emigrated from Tanzania, and we were talking about stuff, and he's like, Casey, his name was Jack. I'm sure that's not his real name, but he goes, why are Americans so soft? And I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, man, there's no depression in Tanzania. Like we don't have depression. We're trying to get water.
Yeah.
We don't have depression. I was like,
exactly.
oh yeah, that's the thing is like, we have, our lives are so good.
Yeah.
Especially, by the way, if you're a middle-class white person. I don't want to discount
for sure
the problems that other people have.
For sure.
Our lives are so good that we're literally adopting other people's problems. The same dude called it, he's like, this is our movement. We are making an impact. And I'm like, how are you part of our or we? Like, you fucking are vacationing here, not yeah, man. That's like you said, I agree. Like, I think that it's great for white people to support those things, but to take their guidance from the people who are actually affected by the problems that they're protesting against, and not like we don't need to be doing meme jokes about Breonna Taylor's murderers. Let's just actually contact our representatives, donate money to causes that are independent investigators of that kind of stuff, that are putting pressure on local police forces to deal with this stuff. We don't need to make the most clever misdirect joke on Twitter about arresting Breonna Taylor's murderers. Just, take some civic action instead, or donate money. Like I said, I'm big on just donate. Your money is probably, if you're a fucking fat white guy in Tacoma, your money's probably worth more to those organizations than dude, I'm not even gonna be able to keep up with the march, to be honest with you. I got bad cardio.
Oh fuck yeah, that's hilarious, dude. Dude, Casey, I really appreciate you for coming on, but this has been an awesome chat, man. I thank you so much. I appreciate it. So your podcast is one more time is like
it's Nobody Likes Casey McLain.
Nobody likes Casey McLain, and they can get it all everywhere that they get podcasts.
Everywhere you get podcasts. If it's not available, let me know, and I'll put it on whatever app you're using.
Okay, cool. Well, yeah, so we like iTunes and Stitcher
Spotify,
and all those, Spotify, all those apps, yeah.
Stitcher, the whole thing. I think I got it on all of them, but every now and then someone's got some bullshit like a third-party podcast app. I'll do it, dude. I don't give it.
We'll get it out there, yeah, for sure. No, definitely. And then also like all your handles and anything like that, so people can find you on Instagram and the Twitter and all those things.
Yeah. Everything is at the Casey McLain. McLain has one C. It always gets spelled with two C's. Okay. It actually only has one C.
Oh, so it's McLain. Okay, got you.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, cool. Awesome, man. I really appreciate this, dude. And thanks a lot for doing it, bro.
Thank you, Andrew.
Cool, man.